ethics. Her research interest includes the ethical aspects of tobacco controls, particularly liberal arguments, human rights, and social determinants of health. Ethics of additions policy more broadly, tobacco industry tactics and arguments, global tobacco control policy, and new approaches to tobacco control such as tobacco endgames and tobacco harms reduction. This session, Dr. Yvette will share about vaping and e-cigarettes. Let's welcome Dr. Yvette. Dr. Yvette.
Thank you for the introduction, and I hope that you can all see my screen. So let me just put it in full screen so that you can see my slides a little better. Okay, so let me know if you cannot see this. But anyway, so thank you for the introduction. So yes, I'm in the Hawk School of Public Health, and most of my research there is orientated to supporting tobacco policy in Singapore. So in this talk, I'm going to be covering a bit more about my research over the past couple of years in Singapore on vaping and also other emerging nicotine products like flavored cigarettes. So without further ado, so just a little background on what exactly are some of these new emerging nicotine and tobacco products that we're seeing on the market. Because typically when we think of tobacco, we think of cigarettes, right? And maybe to some extent pipe tobacco and some of these older forms. But actually in the past 10 years or so, we've been experiencing a bit of a boom in the market with these new nicotine and tobacco products. And it's been raising a lot of concerns in many different countries, not only in Singapore, concerns over their safety and also their marketing to young people. So the first of these, which I'm sure you've seen in the news at some point or other, is e-cigarettes and vaping. So this is here in the bottom left. So
hi, Yvette, the screen did not advance to the next slide.
It's
like froze. Yeah, it just like stays on slide number 1, your intro name and then.
Oh, okay. Can you see it
now? No, still the same. You try again.
Oh, that's strange. Okay, I'm scrolling through it now, but
no. Yes, now can. Can you do a full screen instead?
Yeah, but okay. How's this?
It's just at the working slide. I mean, of the it's on the second slide, but it's not on the full screen. But I think it's still okay.
Okay.
All right, sure.
Let me know if there's any more issues. Otherwise, I'll just keep it in the semi-screen. Okay. So anyway, so in the bottom left here, you see e-cigarettes are the first of such products. So e-cigarettes are essentially devices that heat up nicotine in a kind of solution. And most of them have different additives and flavors added to them. So it's a very wide category of products because, the kind of flavors and additives that are contained in them can vary quite dramatically. And they're used in a similar way as a cigarette. So the person then inhales the vapor and then exhales the nicotine vapor out. But the devices that contain the vapor also vary quite dramatically in their form. So you can see here, some of them look a bit like perfume bottles, others look like flash drives, and then some look, like pens or everyday objects, and others look like traditional cigarettes. So it's a huge category of products. Then here in the center at the top, you can see the heated tobacco products. So these are essentially like cigarettes, but instead of burning them, they are heated in a kind of electronic device and then smoked in a similar way as a cigarette. So they contain tobacco, but it's heated at a lower temperature. And these two types of products are currently banned on the Singapore market. Yeah, and in other countries, they've started regulating them now too. And in other countries, they are also banned. In some countries, they are still allowed. The regulation really varies. Then here in the bottom right, we see capsule cigarettes. So this is a new type of cigarette which was launched onto international markets around 10 years ago. And these are essentially cigarettes with a crushable flavor capsule embedded into the filter tip. So as you can see in the cigarette which we've dissected here, there are these two little balls in the filter. So when the user crushes them, they release a flavor into the cigarette. So it's like an on-demand flavor system. And some of these cigarettes are actually, they're not flavored, so they can transform a regular cigarette into, say, a menthol cigarette. Others are essentially flavored cigarettes, which then add an extra flavor like fruits or mint or something like that. And these cigarettes are now becoming a fast-growing category in many countries and also in Singapore. So the market for these has been growing quite fast. And as you can see, you know, the forms in which they're sold varies quite a lot too. So as you can see, this pack on the left, it's like a pick and mix kind of concept where they've put in a mix of different flavors. A bit like, you know, I remember walking home from school when I was 10, and on the way home, we would go into the shop and buy pick and mix sweets. You know, you get your 20 pence and you buy like a different mixture of sweets. It's reminiscent of that a little bit. So pretty,
Yvette,
yeah.
sorry, your slides have disappeared. We only can see you.
Okay. Can you see them now?
No, not.
Okay, maybe if I don't know. I mean, I can unshare and then share again, but I haven't really changed anything.
Perhaps do one more time. The sharing of slides. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Is this working?
Yes, it's back. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm just gonna keep it on the semi-screen so we don't get any more issues. Yeah. So I won't enlarge the slides to the full screen. Yeah, just in case we don't get any more issues. Okay. So anyway, so these are the emerging nicotine tobacco products. So as I was talking about, here on the left is the e-cigarettes and vaping. In the top, you see the heated tobacco products, and here on the bottom right is your capsule cigarettes. I'm not sure at what point the screen share stopped, but anyway, so these are capsule cigarettes here. So the reason why they are a concern, all three of these products, is, okay, so in the case of the vaping, the e-cigarettes, and the heated tobacco products, because they're such a new type of product, you know, we don't really know what the long-term health effects are. So, I mean, although we know that in the short term, they are associated with some health impacts, like we've seen some young people show up in hospitals with very acute lung inflammations, which looks like a severe kind of pneumonia. So we've had cases like that. But in the long term, you know, like over the next 20, 30 years, we don't really know what kind of health effects they cause, and we won't know for a while yet. Second, you know, a lot of these products are touted as smoking cessation aids, but, you know, the evidence on their efficacy is quite limited, because when we compare against current smoking cessation solutions like nicotine patches, they seem to be either equally effective or not as effective. And the products have also been very popular among the young people. So we see this wave of like teens and youth now using e-cigarettes in many different countries. And also they are a potential gateway to cigarette use, although the evidence on that is still uncertain, but some studies do suggest that young people who start using e-cigarettes will then later transition to cigarettes. Flavored cigarettes are a concern for many reasons, because we know that the flavors and the novelty of the design, you know, the fact that you can control the flavor, this concept appeals quite a lot to young people, especially. And also cigarettes that are flavored with menthol particularly are known to facilitate smoking initiation, because when people first try a cigarette, you know, they get this negative reaction. It's quite harsh on them. Whereas the menthol kind of masks all of that. So it makes picking up smoking easier for young people. And also menthol interacts with nicotine in the brain and makes cigarettes more addictive. And also flavored cigarettes. This has been a very fast-growing market in Singapore, which I'll go into a bit in a minute. So I would like to just share with you some results of my research on vaping and e-cigarette use in Singapore. So we did a survey of over 1,000 adult smokers in Singapore, just to survey their use of different products and things. And we found that 1 in 4 had tried e-cigarettes or vaping at some point or other. We also did a series of focus group discussions with youth smokers in Singapore. So they were aged 20 to 25. And this was, the idea of these focus groups was to get some idea on their use of flavored cigarettes and also e-cigarettes, and get a sense of what their role